Hello students, a very good morning. Today we will study Toru Dutt's poem or Casurina tree. Toru Dutt, despite having a short life, made her poetry to live long as a testimony of her literary credentials. Toru Dutt was born on March 4th, 1856. She was a poet, novelist, essayist, translator, and the first Indian poetess to write in French and English. She contributed regularly to the Poets' Corner of the Bengal magazine and the Calcutta Review, published a series of English translations of French poetry between March 1874 and March 1877. Although she died at the tender age of 21 in 1876, she had produced an impressive collection of his poetry and prose within the short period of life. This poem, or Casurina tree, was published in his collection Legends of Hindustan. So, this poem, or Casurina tree, in itself is a symbolic representation of poet's memory associated with the Casurina tree. Using his subjective pronoun in the title suggests that subjective tone of the poem. In the this poem, uh, in the very first stanza, we see the poet describe the creeper's stronghold on the tree and the scare symbolic of represent the impact of colonialism on Indian culture and philosophy. This poem uses a rich imagery which represent in the description of the tree's appearance, description of dawn, and the memory of her lover once connected with it. The metaphor used in the line, the giant wear, the scarf, trembling hope, and the time of the shadow, and the simile is like a huge python, baboon sit statue like alone, and the water fairies spring like snow emerge that add beauty to the poem and instant the poet's feelings. So now we will start this poem. Like a huge python winding round and round, the rugged trunk intended deep with scales, up to its very summit near the stars, a creeper clings, in whose embrace bound no other tree could live, but gallantly the giant wears the scarf, and flowers are hung in crimson cluster. All the boughs among whereon all day are gathered birds and bees, and oft at night and garden o'erflows with one sweet song that seems to have no close, sung darkening or from our tree while men repose. So the opening stanza of this poem, the first stanza brings with the image of this tree. The poet remembered the tree being wounded by a creeper like a python. It, its hold was too tight for it, had left the scars on the trunk. The poet further states that no other tree would have sustained this hold, for it is too strong. But her tree did. Also, the tree has proudly worn these scars like a scarf, representing its strength. To further describe its strength, the uh, poet says it is filled with the crimson flower in every bough, like a crown that invited birds and bees. Often at night, when the poet could not sleep, she used to listen to the music that filled her garden as if it has no end. Second stanza, when first my casement is wide open thrown at dawn, my eyes delighted on its rest, sometimes and most in winter on its crest. A grey baboon sits statue-like alone, watching the sunrise, while on lower boughs his puny offspring leap about and play, and far and near kokilas hail the day, and to their pasture wend o'er sleepy cows, and in the shadow on the broad tank cast by that over tree, so beautiful and vast. The water lilies spring like snow immersed. So the second stanza of this poem details the experience of dawn with delighted Durga. Every morning, as she opens her window, her eyes rest on the tree and delighted. She presents the picture of the changing scene with seasons, sometimes during other seasons, and mostly during winter. She had seen a baboon sitting on the top branch like a statue waiting to receive the first ray of sunlight, whereas his peony of spring plays around in the lower branch of the tree. Along with this scenic beauty, the poet also experienced the kokila's welcoming notes. She has also observed the cows guided toward the pastures and the water lilies spring under the shadow of her our tree like gathered snow. So then the third stanza, but not because of its magnificence. Dear is the Casurina to my soul. Beneath it we have played, though ear my role. O sweet companies, loved with love intense, for your sakes shall the tree be ever dear. Blent with your image, it shall arise in memory, till the hot tears blind mine eyes. What is that does? Like murmur that I hear, like the sea breaking, breaking on the single branch. It is trees' lament on airy speech that happy to unknown land may reach. So the third stanza of this poem, the speaker turns more subjective in the memory associated with the Casurina tree. She comments on why the tree will remain dear to her always. Beside the morning bliss, the tree reminds her of the time she played with her sibling. The tree, blended with the memory of them, gives her the image of the intense love they shared, leaving the poet in tears. The poem, the poet mourns for those departed souls as she thinks down the memory lane, and she imagines that the tree shares her lute, which she hears as the dirge like murmur. Dirge means a death song. Dirge like murmur, resembling the waves breaking on a pebble branch. So next stanza. Unknown yet well known to the eye of faith. Ah, I have heard that well far, far away, in distant lands, by many a sheltered bay, when slumbered in his cave the water wreath, and the waves gently kiss the classical shore of France or Italy beneath the moon, when earth lay trounced in a dreamless swoon, and every time the music rose, before mine inner vision rose a form sublime, thy form, O tree, as in my happy prime, I saw thee in my own love native clime. So the stanza fourth, the poet represents an in-depth connection with the tree. Though the image of the waves she takes us from the foreign land, which is unknown yet well known, where the waves gently kiss the classical shore. Now here he represents the shores of Italy and France. Whenever this music have wave touching the waves rise, it arouses the memory of tree in the front of poet's eyes as she had seen in her childhood. So next and the final stanza is, therefore I fain would considerate lay unto thy honor tree beloved of those who now in blessed sleep for a response dearer than life to me. Alas, were they, mayst thou be numbered when my days are done with deathless trees, like those in Burnwood, under whose awful branches lingered pale, fear, trembling, hope, and death, the skeleton and time that shadow, and though weak the worse, that would thy beauty fain, oh fain rehearse, my love defend thee from oblivion's curse. So the final stanza, this in the final stanza, Toruduk wants to erect something in honor of the Casurina tree. For those who were beloved, who were resting in peace, loved it. She wants the tree to live long like those trees of Burwood, making a reference as Wordsworth's ye trees. Also, she makes an attempt to distinguish the tree of England from the Casurina tree, connecting to her varied emotions. The Casurina tree stands for nostalgia, longing, and memory, whereas the trees of England reflect her isolation. The final lines of the poem underscore the idea of a poem as a written memory. The poet seeks love to protect the tree and her poem from time's ravage. So I think the whole idea is clear. Thank you all of you, and we will meet tomorrow with next one.